I absolutely love the granny square. It is one of my very favorite things to make. This granny square is a part of an Afghan that I made a couple of years ago, and it's just so soft and so fun. It kind of reminds me of just kind of like a warm evening at home, you know, a homebody just kind of snuggled up, drinking a hot cup of whatever you want to be drinking, reading or crocheting. So I absolutely love the granny square, and they're so versatile. There's so many different kinds that you can make. This is a starburst granny that I'm making for a different project, and it's just so fun. These are a great way to kind of show off your skill and your creativity. And I'm doing each starburst is going to be unique, and I haven't decided if I'm going to make a bag or a shawl or maybe even like a poncho. I think that would be so much fun. It would be so weird, but I would love it weird. Like it would look so unique and so great. And then here is another version of the granny. This is with kind of a chunkier yarn, but this yarn has, you can see this one has the spaces and the holes. Another granny square that you can make is the solid granny. This is a really wonderful beginner project because it can be so many things. It can be a granny square in an Afghan. It could be a pot holder if you use the right yarn. 100% cotton yarn would be the only way to really make a pot holder safe, because acrylic yarn melts. So it could be a really great craft for you and maybe your kids, or it could be really a cute Christmas craft. If you want to give them out as gifts, you could, like I said, turn it into a pot holder. Or I just love this variation because it doesn't, you know, it's not just your regular plain old granny, even though you can see that can be really beautiful. This is kind of a fun twist. So let's go ahead and learn to make this solid granny square. To begin my solid granny square, I'm going to start with a modified version of the magic circle or adjustable ring. So I'm going to pull my tail nice and long, and then I'm going to drop it. And with this yarn here, I'm going to do a slip knot. Starting just as normal, I'm going to loop over my finger. I'm going to pull my working yarn forward and to make the X on my finger. And with this part of the yarn right here, I'm going to reach back, I'm going to pull it up and off the end of my finger, which will create my slip knot, tighten down, and then instead of starting to crochet, I'm going to reach back for that long tail we left. And so I'm going to loop it as close to my hook as I can get. I'll show you again. Drop that working part of the yarn, and with my tail, I am going to loop it, leaving that tail hanging off the front of the circle. This is the circle we're going to be going into. And holding my circle together, I am going to insert my hook into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, and I'm going to pull that loop all the way through that first loop on my hook. And as I tighten down and adjust, there is a modified magic circle. I just can't get it the other way. I can't figure out the other one. But you can see if you pull that tail, it gets tighter. If you pull on the ring, it gets looser or bigger. And so that is a really nice modified way to start your center crochet projects with a modified adjustable ring or modified magic circle. I am going to start our solid granny square by chaining up 2, 1, 2. This does not count as a stitch. To make my first stitch, I am going to yarn over, insert my hook into the center, yarn over, pull up another loop. I'm going to double crochet, and since that counts as my first stitch, I need 2 more double crochets. Here's 1, here's 2, here we are at our first corner of our solid granny square. So I am going to do a treble crochet. That means 2 yarn overs, insert my hook into the center, pull up another loop. That's 4 on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That will create our first corner. And now we need another granny shell. That's 3 double crochets. Let's do them now. Here's 1, and 2, and 3. That brings us to another corner. So we're going to do a treble crochet, yarn over twice, and treble crochet. So that's the corner done. We need another granny shell. That's 3 double crochets. Here's 1, 2, and 3. That brings us to a corner. Yarn over twice to make our treble crochet. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and that's a corner. Here is our last granny shell, 3 double crochets. That's 1, 2, 3. And then, as we started with a granny shell, we just need our last corner, and that is 1 treble crochet. So I'm going to yarn over twice and pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. That is going to be the center of our solid granny square. And I will show you why this is sometimes referred to as a magic ring, our adjustable circle, our adjustable ring, because you can pull it down tight just like that, and that becomes, just like magic, your center ring. So now we can end this row with a slip stitch. So here is your treble crochet. Here are the 1, 2, 3 chains that you, there's the 2 chains that you chained up originally, and here is the top of our first double crochet. This is what counts as our first stitch. Ignore that. These are not the droids you're looking for. So we are going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet, just like that, to end our row. And because this is a solid granny square, we can start right here. We don't have to, you know, move our starting point at all. And so I am going to chain up 2. It's not going to count as a stitch. We are going to double crochet into the 3 double crochets that we started off with. So it's basically the same so far. Round 2 starts off with 3 double crochets. And then that gets us to our first corner of the second round. Now we are going to be putting 5 stitches into this stitch. They'll fit, don't worry, it is the way we are going to turn the corner without a gap or a space. There's going to be no holes, if we can help it, in this solid granny square. So I'm going to yarn over and put 2 double crochets. Here's 1, here's 2. Then I'm going to put a treble crochet. That's yarn over twice and treble. Then I'm going to put 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. So here's 1 and 2. That is going to turn our corner, and then we are going to be able to continue on with this straight edge of our granny square. So I'm going to double crochet into each stitch along. It should be 1, 2, 3. And that is going to get us over to our next corner. Into this treble, we're going to put our 5 corner stitches. So here's 2 doubles, a treble, two more doubles into the same space, that turns our corner, and then in each double crochet, each stitch along, we're going to put 1 double crochet stitch. Here's 1 and 2 and 3. That brings us to our next corner. We're going to do our 5 corner stitches, 2 doubles, a treble, and 2 doubles. Here's 1 and 2. Here's our treble. And then 2 more doubles. Same place, same stitch. It's okay if it feels a little crowded while you're performing the stitches. You just kind of straighten everything out as you go along, and it will start to take shape just right. So in the next 3 stitches, we're going to double crochet, here's 3, and that will bring us to our last stitch available. It should be your treble, and into this we're going to put our 5 corner stitches, which will end our round 2. Here's 2 doubles, one treble, and 2 more doubles It's all right to pull your stitches a little bit to make sure that you're putting them in the right place. 1 double, 2 doubles, and that is round 2. We will slip stitch into the top of this double crochet right here. That's what it looks like. So I'm going to insert my hook into the top of that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull that loop all the way through to close and complete round 2 of our solid granny square. You'll notice that this is basically exactly like the pot holder that we did, but that is because it's a solid granny square. So if you want to turn this into a pot holder, you might close up that ring a little bit tighter and use acrylic yarn. And this would be kind of a cute project for, you know, your kids, or maybe a craft at Christmas to give out gifts. That'd be a really good idea. We're just doing, we're learning the solid granny today because it is a really cute variation if we're making Afghans, and it's just a good skill to have and to practice. So let's go ahead and do round 3. I'm going to chain up 2, 1, 2. It does not count as a stitch. So into this stitch right here, I am going to double crochet. That's the first stitch of our round. And each stitch along, I'm going to count. So that was 1. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to double crochet into these, and then that will bring us to our corner stitch, which is this treble, and we will do our corner stitches. So double crochet here, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then here we are at our corner. So we're going to do our 5 corner stitches, 2 doubles, a treble, and 2 more doubles, and that will turn our corner. So here's our first full edge of our granny square. Sometimes it can get a little tight right here, so just make sure that you have the top of this first double crochet exposed and it's not all hidden by your corner. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The sides, or the edges of your row 3, should have 7 single, lone, by themselves double crochets. So we're going to double crochet in each stitch along these 7 stitches. There's 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a good idea to keep count of your stitches and to make sure that you have the right count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then those are definitely in the corner, so that's right. Because if you try to just mindlessly crochet and you're watching TV or you're not paying attention and you skip a stitch or you do too many, it's going to mess up your following rows. So it's a good idea, especially as a beginner that we're practicing, to count your stitches. Here we are at the corner. I'm making sure that it's my treble crochet, so I'm going to do my 5 corner stitches. Here's a double, and a double. We need our treble. Two more doubles. And then in the next 7 stitches, we are going to double crochet in every stitch along. Okay, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to count my stitches. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are definitely in that corner, so that's the right count. I will go ahead and put my 5 corner stitches into this treble, 2 doubles, one treble, and then 2 more doubles, okay, into the next 7 stitches, we're going to put 1 double crochet, and my solid granny square is growing super fast. It's because I'm using this chunky yarn. I really like to do my tutorials with this chunky yarn because the stitches show up so much better than kind of a regular worsted weight yarn. So I am going to stop at 3 rows, but you can add as many rows to this as you want. You could turn this into a baby blanket, which I have done before. I would just kind of keep pulling my corners square, because since you are crocheting in the round, it can kind of turn. I would just kind of keep pulling it square as much as you can. And you can make as many rows, but I will be stopping at 3. So let me count my stitches. Start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's right. So I'm going to put my 5 corner stitches here. That's going to be 1 double, 2 doubles, 1 treble, and 2 more doubles, that's my last corner. And then because I didn't start exactly at the corner for this row, I am going to have to finish with 2 double crochets into each stitch here, and I will make sure that that does equal 7, just in case you're going to be going on to add more rows. So that is going to be 1, 2, here's 3, because that little chain up didn't count, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's a part of the corner. So that is 7 stitches for this edge. The way to complete row 3 is I'm going to find the top of that first double crochet that counts as a stitch, and I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, and slip stitch to close this round. I am going to end my granny square here, but if you wanted to go on and add extra rows, I wanted to show you how to change colors if you thought that might be fun. So instead of slip stitching at the very end of row 3, what you would do is you would complete this last double crochet and you would insert your hook into the top of the first double crochet of the round, and then you would drop the current color that you're working with, and you would introduce your new color. So you would just loop over your hook, pull up that loop, maybe tighten down your first color, and then pull that loop all the way through, and that way your color change is relatively seamless. And then you would just pick up the working side of your new color, pull the tails down, and start by chaining up 2, and then yarn over, go down into that first stitch, and double crochet, and that will be your first stitch of row 4. This yarn is kind of dark. It's why I use the light yarn to have the stitches show up on camera, but we can do a few double crochets along, just like we have been doing to start the row. And you can see, if you tie your tails down, you would cut that original color, but if you tie that down, you can see that it's basically a seamless transition, and you can now change colors at the beginning of every row. So let's say you're very ambitious and you're going to make your very first baby blanket. Well, you could do stripes. I probably would like thick stripes. I wouldn't like to change color every row. That would be a lot of tails to weave in, but or you could do big blocks of color, and every 3 rows you could add a new color, and then at the very end you would have a really lovely kind of blocky striped baby blanket. And so that is how you would change color at the beginning of every row. And so I wanted to thank you so much for following along with this tutorial. I hope that you learned how to create your very first solid granny square, and I hope that it was instructive and easy to follow along with. If you have any questions, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. But at your very last row, why don't we do this? As you're finishing completely, what you're going to want to do is, you've just finished your slip stitch to close your row. You're going to yarn over and pull up one more. You're going to chain 1, and then you're going to kind of pull your yarn, and you would snip here. You would snip that and then pull the yarn all the way through, and that would tighten down your knot right here, and then you could weave in your tail. Let's go ahead and do that. Where are my scissors? And so along the back, you tighten down your knot. I like to get maybe a smaller gauge of hook. This is an H. It's a 5mm hook. You can just pull your tail through some of your stitches. Along, and if you wanted to, you could pull your tail down, and then this would be a really good place to hide it, is underneath the stitches, the base of your stitches. That would be a really good place. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull your tail through one direction, and then you're going to want to go back the other direction. That will really lock your tail into place, and it won't be you won't find it you won't see it coming back up. And if you pull your stitches, that's totally fine. You can just kind of work them back out. And then you can just clip that excess off, and you have your completed solid granny square. Very well done. So thank you so much again for following along with this tutorial, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day.